Hey beautiful people, what is up and welcome back to my channel and welcome to a new video. As you guys already saw from the title and the thumbnail, today I'm going to be giving you guys my first impression thoughts on the brand new Nomad Cosmetics Whistler palette. I actually can't whistle. Oh, this is the wrong palette. Jeez Louise. My apologies. The Whistler palette. Yeah, I'm so excited to dive into this. But before we get into this, if this is your first time watching me, hi, I am Jamila and I love all things beauty. I love all things makeup, I love all things skincare, and I especially love sharing my tips and tricks for how to find high-end and luxury beauty products at bargain prices. Yes, we do. Okay, so for today's video, I kind of want to do what I typically do, which is basically give you guys some live swatches. I will be doing some comparisons, very little comparison, so you guys can see the shades compared to some of the other Nomad shades. And then I want to give you guys one look. I am planning to film 1 or 2 videos after this one, so I don't want to have 2 mismatched eyes, but that's the plan for today. So before we do that, let's just dive into a couple of product details so you know what you're getting into. Okay, so like I said, we are diving into the brand new Nomad Cosmetics Whistler palette. And just to give you guys a couple of product details, it says on the website, welcome to the Nomad Lodge, the best bucking snow lodge in Whistler. Wintry mix of 15 Apres ski chic eyeshadows formulated with extra fine pigments for velvety color payoff. You get 7 luxe mattes, 6 lustrous shimmers, and 2 dazzling duochromes inspired by the epic winter playground and cozy snow lodges of Whistler, BC. It's infused with evening primrose oil to keep lids soft and hydrated, and is cruelty and vegan free. It also says that 5% of the sales will be donated to the Whistler Community Foundation. I want to give you a little bit of details on that foundation because if you do care about where the money is going, I want you to have that. So it says that the Whistler Community Foundation is a steward of money gifted to the community of Whistler, and it provides grants to local nonprofit charities in the areas of environment, arts and culture, social service, and education. Environmental Legacy Fund was the foundation's first fund and helps provide environmental benefits to the community of Whistler with focus on projects that promote climate change awareness, resilience, and positive climate action. We are proud to donate 5% of the retail sales of the Whistler Snow Lodge palette to the Whistler Community Foundation's Environmental Legacy Fund. Okay. That sounds really, really exciting. So a couple of other details. This palette does retail for $39. So it is relatively affordable, well, on the affordable side of things. And there are a number of influencers, creators on YouTube as well as Instagram who have codes. I purchased this using Beauty and the Frizz's codes, which is FrizzFace. Queerbones also has a code. I know Steven Fortitude has a code. So there are a number of codes. So I'm just letting you guys know that because don't buy this full price because you can use a code to get 10% off. If you are new to the Nomad Cosmetics brand, when you sign up for their emails, you will also get a $5 off gift. So that's another way for you to save some money. Y'all know I like to share little itty bitty tricks. It's not a ton, but you know, every little thing counts. So there's that. So let's dive into the palette itself. So it did come in a really nice sort of blue packaging bag. Every time I purchase from Nomad, you do get this sort of sleeve, this bubble wrap sleeve. It does have the Nomad logo on there. The box for the palette matches the actual palette itself, so you have the imagery in both places, which means that you don't need to keep the box. However, if you do decide to keep the box, you will get all of the shade names here, as well as some of the information about the palette. On the palette itself, it does not have sort of the imagery of the shade names, but you do get some information. And one other thing to note is that this actually has a 12-month shelf life. I don't know if you guys, when it comes to eyeshadows, I use it well past the shelf life date, so, but I know that's very important for some people, and some people have sensitive skin, so the shelf life does matter. In addition to the actual palette, the package does come with a card. Because Nomad is based around this idea of travel and experiences, you do get this really nice postcard. It does give you a little bit of information about the palette, and I love that the owners of the brand really do personalize it by leaving you a handwritten note. Absolutely love that. And then the last thing that I got in my package was what is this even called? It's one of those things that you hang outside your door so that people know that you're sleeping and not to disturb you. So it says, for fuck's sake, I'm sleeping. Really cute, do not disturb. And then there's a little illustration of a fox, which I think is adorable. And then you have the Nomad Ludge Whistler BC. So this is a really nice keepsake. I don't know if, you know, you would use it in your house, but I thought that that was really, really adorable. So let's actually open this baby up and dive into this palette. One of the things that I appreciate about Nomad is that when you open up the palette, instead of there being plastic covering the shadows, they do give this paper sleeve, which I think is a really environmentally friendly way. It does protect the shadows, and honestly, I lose those plastic things all the time, so I don't mind that this is just a paper sleeve, and I will probably toss that out. Anyways, here is the palette, and here are all of the shades. Absolutely stunning. In addition to that, you also do get a really nice size mirror, so if you do care to have a mirror in your palettes, that is there as well. One of the things that I want to quickly point out is that most of the shadows do have an engraving in them as well, which is standard Nomad, basically packaging. All of their shadows that I have engravings in there, which I think is a really nice, cute touch. I am filming this in the day with sort of natural light, so this is how the shadows appear as is. It is also snowing outside, so there's a lot more extra light coming in because it's a really nice fresh white blanket of snow, which I think is super cute. Anyways, let's go back into these shades. So you'll see that it is very much the perfect winter palette. Very icy blue shades. You do get some really nice warm shades. I love that there's a little bit of green and there is a nice sort of neutral goldish row there. So for the swatches, I'm just gonna go row by row and then we'll get into today's look. So here we have the first 4 shades. Skiing, Après-ski, I'm positive I'm pronouncing that wrong, Snow Bunny, and Powder Specialist. And I know at first glance these look very icy, and you're probably like, is that gonna look right on a deeper complexion? We'll see. And I don't know if you can tell from the camera, but this shade Powder Specialist is actually a duochrome. So it looks white in the pan, and it does have a like pink bluish flip to it. Here we have the next 4 shades. For Fuck's Sake, Berry Cool, Whistler, and Nomad. Oh, that is a beautiful blue. I am really liking this red, this kind of brick red orange shade here. It reminds me a lot of one of the shades in Pat McGrath's palette. I think it's in Midnight Sun, has a shade that's very similar to that. Here we have the next 4 shades. Blackcomb, Up to Snow Good, that's Gone Skiing, and Bucking Great. That's beautiful. And here we have the last 3 shades in the palette. This one is the second duochrome in the palette. It is a blue with a little bit of a pink flip. It's very icy looking on the finger and really stunning in the pan. So let's swatch these. Oh Jesus, I'm running out of space. We have Ski Bum. That's that duochrome. I have to swatch these here. So a Mousse D. And Ski Out. And this is a very deep green, like black green. Okay, so here we have all of the shades in the new Nomad Whistler Ludge palette. Absolutely beautiful. This is a really, really stunning duochrome. I am really liking that already. Whew. Okay, so I'm gonna just wipe these shadows off and then we'll get started on the look. I'm not sure what I want to do. I kind of want to use as much shades as possible because I am only doing one look, but also don't want this to be a hot mess. And what I can say just from looking at these shades is that I'm already inspired by this palette. I can see so many looks in my mind. Like, I am thinking about 4 or 5 different looks that I could do right now, and I'm so excited. Okay, let me bring you guys in a little bit closer and we'll get started with the look. Okay, I'm gonna try a thing on this and let's see how this works. So for today's look, what I kind of want to do is I want to play around with these 2 rows. I'm really interested in mixing this sort of mauvey, deep reddish with this blue because there is a little bit of like red-ish flecks in that deep, rich royal blue. So I want to mix both of those together. So to start things off, I want to go into this light blue shade. It's called Snow Bunny, and I want to use that as my transition shade, my first transition shade. That is picking up really nicely onto the brush, and I will say that it is a lot more pigmented than I thought that it was going to be, and not ashy at all. Like, this does look like it would be very dusty, but I do think that this is a really beautiful transition shade, and it's working really well on my complexion. So my goal for today is to have this look sort of filmed and edited and up for you all by tomorrow morning. But I don't know, there's just so much things that I have to do today. If you follow me on Instagram, you would have seen that my fiance and I just came back from a trip. So we were actually in Punta Cana with my family because one of my cousins got married. And it was a beautiful, absolutely beautiful trip. And we got back on Sunday, last week Sunday, because right now it's Saturday. And since then, we haven't really done anything because we both kind of went back out to work, and it's been busy. Like, so when we got back to the States, we actually did not get home until 3 a.m. on Monday morning, and I went to work that Monday morning. So it's been a really, really tiring week because I didn't take any time off between coming back from that trip and going back to work, which is a rookie move. I know better than that. Like, when I do trips, I typically like to have at least 1 day after returning to recover, to unpack, to do laundry, all of that. And I didn't build any of that into my trip, which was a really, really dumb idea. Okay, I'm really liking how this has blended out. I'm just gonna use my color switch. This I got from the Dollar Tree for $1. And I'm just gonna, dust off my brush, and then I'm gonna go into my second transition shade, which is gonna be this brick red. It's actually called For Fuck's Sake. And I'm gonna put a little bit of that right in the crease as well. I am getting a little bit of, well, actually a lot of bit of kick up with that shade. So just go in really carefully, tap off your brush, and then add that. This may be becoming a little bit muddy. I'm not sure about these two mixing together. But we already started, so we're gonna go with it. This may be a really bad idea for a look, but I'm going to own it all the way till the end. Unless I decide to delete all this footage and y'all will never see this hot mess express. I'm not sure where this is headed, but we're just gonna keep going. Next, I'm gonna go into this deep, rich royal blue. It's called Nomad, and I'm gonna use that as my outer crease color. Well, outer V color, basically. Y'all, what am I doing? You got me dancing in my bed, so let me show it. You are exactly what I want, kinda cool and kinda not. Now, it looks really nice and beautiful in royal blue in the pan, but as I am putting this onto the lid and I'm tapping it in and blending it out, I feel like it's turning a teal, almost like a teal color instead of that blue. And I'm getting a little bit of fallout, but nothing crazy. It is blending really easily though, so if you are worried about how rich and how pigmented that blue is, it does blend out like very, very seamlessly. So I'm just blending that into the red, which we laid down as our second transition shade. Not mad at it, but I'm also not sure I like where this look is going. This is such an interesting color on the lid. Like, it definitely does not show up on the lid as it does in the pan. And the way I am applying this is that I'm taking my brush, tapping it into the shade, then I am packing that into the outer corner and then blending it inwards. If this comes out looking like a hot mess, this is probably just me and not the palette, because I probably should not have mixed these shades together, but here we are. Okay, next I'm gonna go into this blue shimmer. It's called Black Home, so it's a deep royal blue shimmer, but there is like a hint of almost purple reddish flickers in there as well. It's not one of the duochromes, but it is a really, really beautiful shade. So I'm just gonna apply this with a brush first to see how it picks up with a brush. You already know that if you do want more impact from a shimmer, you should go in with your finger. But I do like to see whether or not a shimmer picks up on the brush, because sometimes some shimmers just don't pick up at all and you have to go in with your finger. But this is picking up and packing on really, really nicely. And I am covering up some of that red from my second transition shade. So I am going to want to go back with my brush after I'm done adding my shimmers, just to add some of that transition back. I got my head out the sunroof. I'm blasting our favorite tunes. I only got one thing on my mind. You got me stuck on the thought of you. Just out of curiosity, I am going to take my finger and see how that applies compared to the brush. You got those pretty eyes in your head, you know it. You got me dancing in my bed, so let me... Yep, that definitely amps up the intensity. You can definitely see that this seems a little bit more intense than that. So I'm going to take some of that on my finger and also pack it onto this side as well. And whenever I'm applying a shimmer with my fingers, I like to go in with the brush after the fact and just clean up the edges, because you can't get very precise with a finger application, so the brush just helps me clean everything up really nicely. And then lastly, I am going to go in with one last shimmer. I'm going to take this mauvey purple, reddish, pinkish shimmer. It's called Up to Snow Good, and I'm going to put that into the inner third of the eye. That's what I was going for. The mattes didn't exactly give me what I needed it to give me, but the shimmers are coming through and saving this look, because I felt like it was getting muddy for a little bit at the beginning. I only got one thing in the back of my mind. Now with this, I am concentrating most of the shimmer right in the inner third, but I am bringing that shimmer up and over a little bit further out at the very top here. And as I'm applying this, I'm noticing that this does feel a little bit more satin than the blue shimmer. So it doesn't have that high shine, high sparkle that I feel like the blue had in there. Okay, now because I feel like I did lose a little bit of that blue, I'm gonna go back in with my finger just really quickly and add a little bit more blue back into the center to make sure that it doesn't get lost by that reddish, mauvish, pinky purple color. Y'all know I can't describe colors, right? So I'll just give you every color of the rainbow. And there, you see it's adding some of that vibrance back. Ooh, I'm loving how this is turning out. And you already know that what I like to do when I'm done applying my shimmers is I like to go back over the matte shades just to make sure that they don't get lost, because you can already see that that light blue that I used as my first transition shade is pretty much gone, as well as the sort of brick red that I put in there, that's also really gone. So I do want to make sure that my mattes are popping through, so I'm going to go back in with all three mattes and just make sure that they are going to show through a little bit. I don't want it to be too bright or to take over the look, but I want to make sure that they are peeking through. Oh my God, my hand. Why ain't nobody tell me my hand is ashy? If you made it this far to the video and you had to wash my ashy hands, I apologize. It is winter here and I wash my hands frequently, so you're gonna get a little bit of ash. But my bad. My bad. Ain't nobody wanna see that. Okay, so now that I have the mattes all at the intensity that I want them to be, let's go into the waterline. So for the waterline, I think I'm going to concentrate on basically 2 matte shades. I might do a little extra something. But I do want to put this brick red shade in the inner half of the waterline, and then I want to go back into the blue shade and put that into the outer half of the waterline. And I would really like to think about a way to incorporate that duochrome into the waterline as well, but we'll see, because that might be too much. I'm already doing a lot of experimenting here.
Yeah, these are the real, yeah, feel, yeah. Anytime them want it, yeah, these are the real, yeah, feel, yeah. Make your girlfriend rock to the beat. And every gangster I move them feet. Yeah, well, I saw EV.
And these are mixing together so nicely.
You can be the best thing, yeah, the best thing.
Okay, I am loving how this is looking. But I have to be difficult. So I really want to play with this duochrome. So what I want to do is take my brush, I've already cleaned it off, and I want to apply this right over that brick red shade and see what happens. This is literally a see what happens situation. Ooh. Okay. It's almost taking the shade of a purple. Like it's a blue duochrome / multichrome, and when I apply it over that brick red shade, it almost like changes and becomes like purple. That is fascinating. So you can see the blue on the brush.
Can I be your best friend now?
Okay, I think that's a nice little touch. All right. So this is what the eyes are looking like right now. I do want to quickly flag, there is a little bit of fallout that I'm getting. Most of it is from that blue. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to add some liner, add some mascara, clean up my under eyes because I think I'll need to put some concealer over that. And then finish up the rest of my face, and I'll come right back to give you guys my final thoughts on this palette. Oh, and some comparisons. I promise y'all comparisons. Y'all get some comparisons. All right, I'll be right back. Okay, I'm back, and this is the final look. I will have all of my product details in the, everything else that I'm wearing on my face will be in the description box below, per usual. But let me bring you guys in a little bit closer so you can see this full look. I will say the last thing that I did was go in with this white-ish, it's the other duochrome shade. It's called Powder Specialist. I went in with that shade as my inner corner highlight, and yeah, that was pretty much it. So come in a little bit closer. I'll show you guys all of this look in all of its gloriousness. I'm gonna give you all some comparisons, and then I will give you guys my final thoughts on this palette.
Can I be your bestie, your best friend? No, you never run, mommy, if you're breathless. Give you one time, still don't ever upset. She are my type, I know that me know. Follow this a rat, but I know no Moses. Never see a lady, me never respect. Come here one time, for the nothing up there. You can be the best thing, you're the best thing. Can I be your bestie?
Okay, so that was the final look. So like I said, I wanted to give you guys some comparisons. And the first thing that came to mind when I saw the Whistler palette was actually another Nomad palette, and that is the Fire and Ice palette from Nomad. Let me show you guys the inside. Okay, so up top we have the Nomad Cosmetics Fire and Ice, and at the bottom we have the Whistler palette. So you can see that there are definitely some similarities. The Nomad Fire and Ice is definitely a mix of blues and reds, so very warm, very so a lot of red tones and a lot of blue tones, whereas I feel like the Whistler palette definitely leans into that blue range, but you do get some really nice greens and you get that red tones. So I immediately thought of these two palettes together, and I think that there may be some similarities. So let's actually compare a little bit. And I have never used the Nomad Fire and Ice palette, so I actually have no idea how these shades actually compare. So the first thing that I want to do is go into this shade right here. It's called Hell from the Fire and Ice palette, and I want to compare that to the Up to Snow Good shade here from the Whistler palette. So yeah, you can see similar, but very, very different. Next, I want to compare the rich blue shade here from the Whistler palette to actually this kind of teal shade from Fire and Ice, because I felt like that blue shade actually applied very much like a teal on the eyes and not like that rich royal blue that I expected it to be. Oh, but they swatch very different. So here's Fire and Ice, here's Whistler. Okay, very, very different. Although I feel like if I blend this out, no, they're still pretty different. Okay, so next I want to do two comparisons. I actually want to swatch these two shades. This is a really kind of like minty green and a little bit of a green blue shimmer. And I want to compare that to this matte green from the Whistler with this shimmer. So I'm going to swatch, actually I'm going to do this one from Fire and Ice. Okay, so these two are from the Whistler palette, and then these two are from Fire and Ice. So here we have all four together. So we have Whistler, Fire and Ice. There's definite similarities, but they're not the same. They're similar, but not identical. I think you could actually get away with using either of those two from each palette, because I think on the eyes they would look really, really similar. And then the last shade that I want to compare from these two palettes is I want to check this brown shade. It's called Dark Castles. That's what that one looks like. And I want to compare that to two shades from the Whistler palette. I want to compare it to this one. It's called Ski Out and Gone Skiing. So this one is definitely a like black green shade, and this one is like a green brown shade. So we have this shade from the Nomad Fire and Ice palette, and these two are from Whistler. So you can see on the finger, not at all the same. They're not identical. And yeah, the Whistler palette shades, this one definitely looks more black. This one has a little bit of a gray tinge to it. And this one is a very like true brown, and it doesn't have as much depth as the others. But I feel like you could probably blend this one from Whistler out and get a pretty similar shade to that one. Now I want to do one last comparison, and it is between the multi-chrome in the Nomad palette with two multi-chromes from two Odin's Eye palettes. So the multi-chrome Ski Bum is really, really beautiful. And this, when I swatched it, it immediately reminded me of the Odin's Eye Legendary Dive Lisa collab. And I really want to compare the multi-chrome in this palette to the two multi-chromes, the one in the Giant Wolves palette and the one from Tina / the Fancy Face. So this is the Ski Bum multi-chrome from the Nomad palette. This is the multi-chrome from the Hummingbird palette from Tina. And then we have the multi-chrome, it's called Eternal, from the Giant Wolves palette. That's Annette's palette, which I think more closely reminds me of the Nomad palette. So we have the one from the Fancy Face here, and then we have the one from Annette. So let's swatch. So here we have all three shades. This is the one from the Nomad palette. This is the one from Fancy Face. This is the one from Annette. And yeah, they're definitely very, very different. The Odin's Eyes are a little bit more shifty. The one from Nomad is definitely more blue and less shifty. The one from Odin's look more wet, and the one from Nomad is definitely a true, just like shimmer. Whereas the Nomad's one, no competition in terms of like how icy and shiny they look. So these are all of the comparisons. All right. I'm just dropping everything. I don't know how this isn't breaking. All right, so here are my final thoughts. I actually really like the Nomad Whistler palette. I think that this is an absolutely stunning palette, and I was excited when I saw the color story at first, and now having played with the palette just once, I'm still pretty excited. I do think that while some of these looked a little bit icy and honestly a little bit ashy when I swatched them, that I think that they would still work really well for a deeper skin tone. So if you are concerned about that, I think we're fine. I think we're okay. I will say that the mattes feel very, very creamy. The only matte that I found that I got a lot of kick up with was that brick red matte, but it wasn't horrible. Like, you just tap your brush off and keep going. I did find that when I tried to use the shades that I created for this look, it was looking a little bit muddy at the beginning, but I like how it turned out. I think that it still turned out really, really beautiful. I think that the duochrome / multi-chrome that they included in here is stunning. This one, I'm not sure how I feel about this one yet, and I only used it as an inner corner highlight, so I'd have to try it on the lid to really see how I feel about it. One thing that I felt like I noticed about this is that the mattes felt a little bit creamier than they did in the Haunted Europe palette. I don't know if they've tweaked their formula. I don't know if there were any changes, but it definitely felt a little creamier. I really liked that I could actually pick up the shimmers with my brush and apply it onto my eyes instead of using my finger, and I felt like I got a great color payout. I think that this is really nice, not too bright or dramatic. The shimmers aren't going to give you anything like wet or metallic or anything like that, but they are going to be nice, solid shimmers. And while the mattes that I used did end up looking a little bit muddy, they blended really easily, which makes me feel like if I am going for a more monochromatic look or looks that don't exactly cross color stories or color theory the way I did, that I wouldn't have the muddy issue that I had. What I do like about this palette also is that I think that it's laid out in a really nice way that you can see a lot of looks. So you get, I think they're arranged in columns that I think creates full looks. So you get this kind of really nice neutral goldish column, then you have the green, then you have a blue. This one's a little bit of a mixed mash, but then you have sort of this red. So if you really just wanted to stick with one color family, I think you could do that. But I do think that you can get a lot of different looks with this. I immediately, when I opened this, saw like 5-6 different looks. So I think that this is a very, very versatile palette, which makes this a really good buy. All right. Long story short, I really like this palette. I am very happy that I have this in my collection. I think that this is a really great winter palette, but I also think that this is a pretty well-rounded all-year palette because I would reach for these colors anytime. I'm not necessarily one that sticks to specific palettes for specific seasons, so I could see myself using this anytime, but it is definitely very appropriate for right now, very appropriate for winter, and even the packaging on the outside I think is very beautiful, very thoughtful. So I am super happy about this. Okay, and that is it. I hope you guys like this video. I kind of feel like this one's gonna be a long one because I threw in some comparisons in there. So I apologize if it is a little bit long. I do think that because I can see a lot of color looks with this palette, that I want to come back and give you guys like 3 looks, 1 palette, just so that you can see where my mind is going with this. Probably some more monochromatic ones and probably some where I mix and match the color stories like I did today. So if that sounds like something that you're interested in, let me know down below and I will definitely do like a mix mush a mix mush of that. All right, if you guys like today's look, if you guys liked this video, I would absolutely love if you would hit that like button, leave a comment down below letting me know what you think about the palette, if you bought it or if you're planning to buy it now that you've seen my review of it. If you are not yet subscribed, I would absolutely love if you would consider subscribing, hitting that subscribe button, joining the family, because I will have a lot of really great content coming for you guys. So you guys know the drill. Like, subscribe, share with a friend if you think they would like it. You know. Been there, done that, said it. As always, I love you guys. Thank you so much for watching, and I will catch you in my next one. Bye.